Hey, we're here. It's been a week. This is the Vic hood. I sprayed it with 3 coats of a Glamour Clear, which is a 2-to-1 clear. Now, the hood came out very clean, but we have some nibs in it. And for some of you that don't know what nibs are, they call it trash or nibs. All it is dust or maybe a finite piece of dirt that the clear went over, and it made you'll see little spots in it. And the guys call it trash, okay? Even as clean as I prepped everything back and forth, you will get dust either off your clothing or out of the air, and it'll land on your hood, and you'll get what we call a nib or trash. That's why I tell you to wet down the floor, clean your shop before you paint. Now, I'm trying out some new paper here. I normally use a brand called Oslong. It's a PSA paper. What PSA means, it's got a coating here, you pull it off, and it's sticky. It'll stick on your blocks, all right? A lot of your finer papers, you have to put them in a block or wrap it around something, and I like PSA paper, all right? And it lasts a long time for me. This is 2000 grit. Now, to get out the nibs first, I will sand. I've already practiced just a little bit right here. And I've got 2 nibs. Now, what I try to do on nibs, since I'm older, Dollar Tree reading glasses, I'll mark them with a Sharpie. See, they're marked. And that will let me know when I've gone through the nib. But also what I do, and I'll show you here, I've got it soaking, I'll knock the nibs off with either 1,000 or 1,200 grit, just on the nib. And then go with either 1,500 or 2,000 grit and sand, because then I'm just knocking off. Now, each grit you go finer, it cuts down on your polishing time, all right? You're not having to work so hard. Now, you could do this with a DA with what's called an interface pad. A lot of you guys are like, I don't know what that is. It's your normal DA, and it's got a foamy pad, and then the paper itself, a lot of times, will have a foam underneath it, and they'll DA all this. They'll start off with 1,500 or 2,000 and up to 3,000, and there's other papers made called Trizac, and they'll do it all dry. Or the higher the grits, they'll spritz some water on it and go on. It's not like old school. I'm doing this old school in case you don't have to go out and buy an DA and all. I'm doing it because I like to be one with my project. At the end of this car, I will have known every inch of this car. This is not production work. This is just me and you. Like if you're doing an old Chevy or a Camaro or a Mustang, and you know every inch of that car because you did the body work, you sanded it. I mean, you and that car are like, like that. So this is for that, and you have more control. And you can stay away from edges, so that way you still have clear on the edges to where when you're polishing, you don't smoke or burn an edge. Now, another thing on polishers, if you've never used a force-driven rotary polisher, they take a little skill. You're better off buying a DA one. You can buy them at Harbor Freight. And it's basically a slow motion and a vibration, just like a DA sander, but for buffing. Takes a little longer, but the detailers, I gotta take my hat off to you. Detailers are so in one and in tune with detailing a car and the color correction and stuff. They're more in tune than us old painters and body men. I mean, every minute little scratch, they're in there working or whatever. Us, we get it close to cigar. But now with the new products, we're pretty dang close with them, and we don't want to spend a week buffing on a car, and you can't do that as production. Now I will, but I learn something new every day from the detailing guys. I really do. And I get confused because everybody's selling a new product, a new polish, a new pad. I still absorb so much from them. And so any of you guys that have a YouTube channel that are detailers, or if you know of another detailer channel that's really, really good, put it in a comment and send it to me. I appreciate it because I like to learn something new. And every day there's something new in this industry. So I've got these blocks. They're stainless blocks. They're pretty damn heavy, but they're truly flat. So I took a piece of 1200 grit and I'm going to denib this. And I soaked the paper ahead of time. Hold on. This paper has been soaking because it's more pliable when you're soaking it. And I'll go over, I gotta put on the glasses so I can see what the hell I'm doing. I'll go to the spot right here and just work slowly on that nib. Work slowly on that nib so that way I don't have to exhaust myself with the 2000 grit or higher. All right, so. And when you're doing this, you're listening and feeling for different noises because if you catch a piece of grit, you'll know it. You'll definitely know it. There's one nib gone. And I'm telling you, this is like intimate work. And now I could use 1000 grit, but I don't want to. This one here was 1200 and it's working just fine. Got another one right here and I'll hit it. Now, if your car is rough and you got a ton of orange peel, yeah, you got to start with 1000 or 1200. I'm sorry, guys. Or if it's so bad and you got a lot of trash, you're going to float coat that car. And somebody can say, well, what the hell is float coating? You're going to sand that car down with 600, 800 grit, clean it, and then you're going to flow 2 to 3 more coats of clear on it. So that way you have some clear on it, because when you're sanding all the trash out, if you have a terrible shop or garage that's dirty, you're going to go through almost all your clear. And then you're actually going to have a truly nice surface again to get it clean, because you ain't going to be putting base. You're just going to be shooting clear. So, I don't know if you can even see, but those marks are gone. Now I go with the 2000. It's on this PSA paper, already on this block. I shoot a little water. It's got soap in it, just a little bit of dishwashing soap. And you're gonna go, I'm gonna tell you, I go in a cross, there's a little lump here in the hood, so I'm going in a crosshatch pattern. I'm not pushing hard. I'm just letting this glide, baby, letting it glide. And I'm gonna show you when we do this hood in 2000, when we get it all done, and it's gonna take me a while, like this. When it's all done, and see, I'm letting the paper do the work. I'm not pushing down on it. I'm not trying to gouge it or anything. You're hearing that squeaky because it's on the painter stands, and these stupid things, they weeble wobble. All right? So we're gonna use our other block here as a squeegee. Squeegee it off. Then I'm going to show you what it looks like in 2000 grit. So hold on, let me take the camera off and show you a more close-up view. How's that? Okay, there were 2 little niblets on here. They're gone. Look, this is the unsanded. This is the sanded, and I've only sanded on a little bit. There's some little spots here that needs, I'm not bearing down on this, okay? It's dang smooth. So, I'm gonna work up here, and I'll work this whole hood with 2000 grit and use 1200 for when I find a nib. I'll mark it and then sand on it lightly with, see what that is? It looks bigger than it is. There it is. It's a piece of stainless. I got pieces of billet. It's perfectly true flat. I'll use it. And then, there's the 2000 grit. Just take your time. You can get more aggressive if you want with a lower grit than I'm doing, but beware, if you've never done this before, I don't want you to mess up your project. All right? So, let me finish this to 2000 grit, and when we move up to another grit, I'm going to show you a trick, because when you're doing very fine grits, it's very hard to see. But there's another trick you can use for another set of eyes, and I'll show you that, okay? Our initial sanding with 2000 grit is done. Initial, okay? Now I've dried it off. Here's the other side of the hood. See, it's still shiny. I've done one half of the hood. Probably a good 15, 16 minutes, maybe 20 minutes doing this initial. Now I'm using a semi-hard flat block. You never want to use a piece of sandpaper in your hand like this, or even really like this. If you were to use this part, it would be on like a crown, and you don't want to get very heavy on the top edges of hoods, top crowns of fenders, all right? Because then you'll be cutting the clear very thin, and you'll burn through it. Same thing with edges. If you notice, I left a little bit around the edges, and I'll clean that up later, all right? Because I'll teach you about the buffing part later, and you detail guys are all over this already. And production guys are saying, God, well, it takes forever. You can't make no money. Production, you won't make money doing this. Remember, this is for at home or a custom car that you've been building for freaking 5 years in your shop. All right, so now I'm going to explain to you something else. Semi-hard block, right? This is not a flexible block. Now, true, I could use harder blocks, but I'm using this one. And you see the shiny spots every now and then. All right, when you shoot clear, every layer is going like this. So I got 3 heavy layers on here. And what I'm doing is basically I'm saw cutting across, coming down to fill in, to get it nice and flat. So this means that this is lower than this. So my next part of sandpaper will be going down, and we're going to try to get it all flat. And this car does not have a lot of orange peel on it at all. I'm barely knocking the tops off of it. I'm wanting to leave the clear on it for the UV protection. Get that right. But let me show you some other tricks we used to do. There's a really good company. He's got really good videos for custom cars. It's called Linear Blocks. And he's got a YouTube channel. He uses long blocks and he cuts it. It takes a lot of work. And he'll show you what I'm showing you about these low spots. He will explain that to you too. Now, some of you older, or actually, take that back, is a detailing company that makes products called KXK, I think it is. And they make small detailing blocks. Very good. They got long tutorials on it about, they wet sand too, right? And they show you, and I'm going to show you a trick that almost, I'd say out of the world of painters, maybe only 25% of the world of painters will do this. All right, because it's time. Time is money. The guy from Linear Blocks, he does it also. And those guys from KXD Detailing, they'll do it too. So let me set this all up and we'll come back. All right, here's the trick. You guys didn't even notice it here yet because I'll show you. See how it looks all dirty there? Now remember, already sanded this with 2000. I used 1200 for the nibs, then the 2000. That there is guide coat. The same guide coat I used on my primer and everything, okay? This comes in black or white, so it depends on the color of your car that you're working on. That graphite that's left in there, that's all the 2000 scratches. I just sanded them all out, and I'm on with 2500. Just going to do a light knock out of those, and I'll move up to 3,000. Okay, and then I got some finer grits, but I just wanted to show you here where we are. You see how nice it looks? Very flat, very good. And look how terrible that looks. That's because the graphite's sitting inside. I mean, it's just sitting inside sand scratches, right? 2,000 grit sand scratches, and it's also where this thing went across. So it looks like it's, scratched up. It's so minute stuff in there. So now I'll finish blocking this. I'll put graphite on the rest of this side of the hood, finish it out in 2500. Work the other side like I did this, get the entire hood to 2500. Then we'll move up to 3000. It won't take hardly any sanding with 3000, but I'll guide coat it. I put the 2500 on there so it would show you a real difference here. So I may just go straight up to 3. I just don't know. I just like the way it's coming out, and I'm hardly taking any material off. Okay, where are we? Well, we just knocked her down real quick with 2500. And another little tip. If you have a blowgun, which you're going to need, and it's like this, wrap a little piece of tape around the end of it. You know why? In case you knock or drop, it'll protect you. Okay, you'll be happy. Also, let me show you something. The tool, I showed you the tools in the beginning what I was using. I'm using also a flat block on here. Okay. This block is from 1979 to 1980. That's how old this block is. A 3M block, and it still works perfect. And it's perfectly flat too, because all I've ever used it for is sanding on wet sanding stuff. Anyway, you see how cheap it is? Those blocks brand new are like $3, $4 on Amazon, maybe $5. So you can get yourself one of them, and you're laying a true flat. You see how flat that is? All right, and then here we work on, this is a transition from the upper part of the hood down. So I took it very light there. I don't want to, I'll work that with 3000 a little more. But see here, what's in here? That's a little bit orange peel. Now that's real smooth. But see, no matter what you do, there's going to be orange peel. So when you wipe a piece of sandpaper across, and there, that dark spots in there and all, that's that right there, guide coat. So you would not be able to see on the 2000 or going any degree, 1000 to the next one, if you're knocking it, because the scratches, you just can't see it. So the guide coat lets you know, okay, I've taken off the, let's say 1000 grit. I've taken them off and now I'm at 2000 grit. And then you put it on the 2000, oh, I've got rid of those 2000 scratches. I'm now at 3000 grit. So you see what I'm saying? It helps you. I mean, rather than you just guessing, oh, I guess I got it all off. There's some areas, I mean, that you wouldn't know without the guide coat. You'd be like, here, right there. See a little dark spot right there? You said, that's still got 2000 scratches in it right there. So, and I went over it with 2500. So now I'm gonna move up to 3000. And I'm not spending a lot of time. It's just going through here with a flat block. I'm not bearing down on it. And once you bust this part in the very beginning, this part sands very easy. All right, the grit does it, the sandpaper does the work for you. A little soap in your water and everything's clean. We'll see you after the 3. I'm gonna go ahead and guide coat this, and I'll show you real quick after I'm done guide coating. All right, we guide coated it again. I just, the little sponge, applicator sponge, went right across with the graphite. There we are. Now I'm going to use 3000, and I'll show you after the 3000. All right, 5 minutes has gone by. I've already done this major part of this hood already. You see how it lets you know where the scratches are. So we started off with, remember, 1200 for the little nibs. Then we went to 2000 grit across the hood. Then we went to one piece, still have it right here, and it's still good enough because it fast cuts after you bust through this layer of 2500, and now I'm at 3000, and I'm just making a few strokes across here, maybe 2 strokes coming across each time, and there's your 2500 scratches. And now we're down to 3000, okay? I will, on the hood, because, and the top, probably the tops of the fenders and the tops of the quarter panel and the deck lid, I will probably try to go as high as I can. I got some new paper. It's cheap paper. It's from, off of Amazon. Matter of fact, I'll show it to you. Hold on. Before I show you the other paper, half of the hood, there's the original right there. Oop, don't look at my Kickstarter, is completely done with 3000. All right, so the next paper we're going to use, I'm going to guide coat it again. The guide coating really is your key to where it tells you where that last layer of scratches are. So when you're going with the next level, it just tells you when to stop too. As soon as that guide coat is gone from that area, stop, keep moving, because you've done your job. It's at that level of whatever new paper you're doing. So it keeps you from over sanding. You see what I'm saying? Now, on Amazon, I told you guys, I bought this. I don't know how many sheets in there, 5 sheets or whatever. It's 5000 grit. And I'm just going to use it on the hood, the deck lid, the top of the fenders, in the upper part of the doors and in some places like that. The real, when you walk by a car and you're looking down the side of that car, looking across where you're going to see it. Another thing, it's going to make buffing this car so easy. So I got 5,000 here. I'm going to guide coat this again, 5,000. But you know what? You want to experiment with me? I'm going to try an experiment. After I get done with this 5,000, I'm not taking off hardly any clear. There's no, look at down here on the ground. There's no really milky, you know, when you cut and clear, the whole car turns to milk. This clear laid down really, really, really flat to where I'm not taking a lot of product off. And then I'll probably guide coat it again and I'll test it on just under the hood probably. We'll test it, see how it goes. And that's a piece of 8,000. We'll try 8,000 on there. Now, there are some guys, you know, you can buff a car out after 2,000 grit. You can. It's a good job, but it'll go. Because hell, back in the day, we used to buff them between 800 and 1,000 grit. So you can buff a car out at 2,000, no ifs, ands, or buts. 3,000, even easier. So, and there's some guys out there say, well, if you don't use a DA with 3,000 or go up from 3,000, it's not going to come out nice or whatever. Oh, bull. This is flatter than flat. This would buff out really nice and very easy. But here's another thing. There will be no orange peel. I want you to do something else for me. This weekend or whenever you see this video, I don't care when you see it. And you got time, and go when the dealership's closed, like on a Sunday. I want you to go look at brand new cars and trucks, cars, whatever, and look down them and look at the paint. Look how large the orange peel is. It's not that it's real rough. It's just that how large the circles are of orange peel. It's getting worse out there. Manufacturers are cutting corners. They're only putting, you know, like a 1.5 coats of clear on it, and it's so thin because they know people don't keep cars a long time, or they know that people drive like crap nowadays. And I got to tell you something else. In the old days, the paint sucked then too, right? So we are in a great age of paint. Paint lasts longer when it's done properly. You've got better products to work with, better tools to work with. So your old truck, I guarantee you when you're done with it, or old car or whatever, will look better than it did when it was new, all right? So, I mean, I'm just telling you. I mean, gaps back in the 60s and 50s and 70s, even 80s, gaps in GM, Ford cars, Chrysler cars sucked. You're like, what the hell? It's nice, perfect here. You go down around the bottom of the door. It's good on one side, none on the other. They didn't have high tolerances of anything. So anyway, let's guide code this. I'll sand it halfway, and we'll see how it's going and see if it's even worth me wet sanding the 5,000. If it does, I'll finish it. And we'll try the 8,000. I think I got 8,000. What do I got? Let me see. We'll try, what is this stupid stuff here? 8,000. We'll try the 8,000. It's an experiment. You're with me, okay? I mean, not even worth the time to do it, but if you notice over here, the hood's at 3,000. It's already starting to shine. So it's way less buffing going to be going on. All right, see you in a little bit. All right, I'm using that piece of 5,000. Basically, I'm just washing this. I mean, I'm not aggressively doing this. I'm getting the guide code off, and I'm double checking with it. Man, I don't think I'm about to buff hardly anything at all. I mean, it's still wet here in spots, but you can see here, I mean, it's hard to see through here, but you can see it. I'm going from 3,000 grit to 5,000. That's 2,000 grit, like I'm starting all over again to a higher deal. But it cuts fine, and just lightly going over it and taking it off and just make it easier buffing. And I'm going in, especially in this reveal here. So, you know, it just, I'm farting around. I'm testing it. I'm going to do it on the hood. And maybe just the hood and the rest of the car just doing 3,000. And then when I'm buffing it, if I find out that it's not buffing right, I'll go back over the car to the areas that I want to with the 5,000. But the hood will be completely done with 5,000. So, hey, you were here with me. We tested it. You know, the real test will be when we're buffing it. But this hood's going to buff like freaking, like nothing. So, which is really good, you know. And the edges, I remember it's a little shiny on the edges because I stayed away from the edges. I didn't want to pull the clear off or cut it down because that's most of the places you're going to burn. So, that's our lesson in color sanding. You can use, remember it comes in 2 different colors, guide coat. You could use guide coat and it'll let you see what you're sanding, and as soon as the guide coat's gone, stop, clean it off, go to your next grit, and go that way. Otherwise, you might pound an area, make it too thin when you didn't have to. Sometimes 5 strokes with a piece of sandpaper is the max you want to do on a grit. You understand? All right, so the minute that this is gone, you stop, go to your next grit. Anyway, well, when I buff this, I'll make a video of me buffing this. And thanks for hanging around. If I bored you at all, I'm sorry. But there's quite a bit of little information on just color sanding in this. All right? Remember, your blower, soap and a little water, nothing hard. And, you know, you might need a Kickstarter to get going, or a good strong piece of coffee. Drink of coffee. But this whole hood, I will probably spend a total of maybe an hour and a half, truly, going up to 5,000, an hour and a half on this hood, just sitting here on my bench, rolling around. Now, you say, oh my God, it took so long or whatever. If you spent 3 years, 2 years building a car, what the hell is an hour and a half on a hood, right? Another thing is, these detailer guys, they'll spend 4 days or 40 hours on a Porsche, color correcting a Porsche for a high-end guy, or Lamborghini or something like that, going over every inch of it. So, what the hell is an hour and a half? Have a good one, guys. God bless you. And we'll see you on the next one.